Right, thank you very much for bearing with me. It's time now to meet our first speaker. Now, if you're ever in need of a good laugh, and let's face it, we've all been there this year, then illustrator Clarice Tudor will sort you out. Based in Liverpool, Clarice creates work that is bursting with originality and hilarious characters who come in the form of friendly planets, sassy dogs with an attitude and high-heeled boots. There's even a self-doubting star. She joins us today to discuss humour and how she imbues her artworks with her own brand of fun. Clarice, you can turn on your audio and video now so we can say hello.
Hello.
How's it going? Hi.
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Yeah, very excited to see this. I love your background as well. There's like the brightest background we've probably had all year, to be honest.
Got some Stranger Things vibes going on in here.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, really good color scheme. I love it. I'm going to let you get on with your presentation. So over to you to share your screen. And just a reminder to everyone else, if you do have any questions for Clarice, please drop them in the chat and we'll do our best to get round to them afterwards. But yeah, over to you, and I guess I'll be back in 10 minutes or so.
Nice one. Here we are. Thank you, Matt. And thank you too. It's nice that for asking me to be here and talk about my work today. Right. Hello, everybody. I am Clarice Tudor. I'm a British illustrator, comic artist and cartoonist. You may remember me from such comics as Sad Dog Gets Rejected and Sad Dog Gets Rejected. You know, let's not forget Sad Dog Gets Rejected Again, Christmas edition. Keep it festive. But hey, you know, don't turn off just yet. I'm not a one-trick pony. I'm in fact a two-trick pony. And my other gag is Cool Dog Saves the Day. And hey, you know, let's not forget, Cool Dog Saves the Day again, right? Now you've been thoroughly introduced to my comics, I've been asked to share with you an insight into the sense of humor that goes into my work, right? I hate to break it to you, but you've all been completely hoodwinked. I don't even make jokes. I'm just completely honest. I'm saying exactly how I feel and what I mean, and I'm trying to pass it off as a joke, just like I've been doing for the whole of this presentation and intend to continue to do so. Right. So, you know that phrase, many a true word hath been spoke in jest. That sums up me and my work so well, because honesty and self-expression are completely integral to my work. What I'm showing you today is mostly my own personal practice, with a few commission projects thrown in here and there, like this one that I did for It's Nice That's Indoors zine not too long ago. That was really fun. And as you can tell from this, my comics are largely autobiographical, quite often confessional, I'm not gonna lie. They're occasionally a bit cynical, although I'm trying to be less cynical lately. You know, it's not going well at all. But speaking of being confessional, right? How to roast boys who hurt you and call it art. I have a really hot tip for you. If you draw your enemies as an evil flower, the sun, or an evil dog, no one will ever know you're talking about them. No one will know it's just a diss track, right? You know, well, they will now. I guess the cat's out the bag, hey. But here's what I think. I think humor can be used to make heavy topics more comfortable. And I find somehow it makes the audience more willing to listen. In my work, I use a lot of self-deprecating humor. And sometimes people are like, why can't you just be serious and vulnerable for a second? Sorry about it, but you know, I always think that humor is not a deflection. Like it's not a defense mechanism. Well, maybe it is, but here's the key thing. Any tool that helps us express ourselves should be cherished, in my opinion. I think it's a complete lifesaver that people who would usually struggle to be vulnerable, me, can just crack a joke about it instead of bottling it up and dying. Never underestimate the cathartic power of a depressing joke. But as you can see from this one, it's not all depressing jokes. I love a wholesome meme nearly as much as I love a pun. You just cannot beat a good pun, in my opinion. Right. So I've been asked to give you the lowdown on the humor in my work. Right, here's the big secret. I simply make hand-drawn memes for a living, and that's all there is to it. The other day, someone said to me, oh, your personality is 90% internet culture. And I was like, yeah, it's so true. I felt so owned because it is just so true. I love the internet, its humor, its language, its universality. So I feel like that's only appropriate for it to be reflected in my work. And the weird thing is, quite often, like, a decent knowledge of memes is essential to understand what I'm getting at in my work, which is just honestly probably the funniest sentence I've ever said. So a great example of that is this recent collaboration I did with Hello Kitty / Sanrio. And although this design makes perfect sense at face value, you don't really need to know anything else. But it actually contains several internet references, which I shall now analyze for you. Sanrio and Hello Kitty memes, oh, they're really just having their moment at the minute. They are just so big. My Instagram Explore page is just Sanrio memes. I've included some fantastic examples for you, like these, particularly these two characters in the middle, which are My Melody and Karomi, and they have been totally reclaimed by the lesbian and bisexual community, who make memes about them being girlfriends. In the actual cartoons, they're supposed to be frenemies, and there is a weird, like, internet argument discourse about this. The diehard Sanrio fans are like, they're just friends, which reminded me of another meme, which I included in this design, which is, you know, gal pals, which kind of it draws on the way that historians and media outlets often dismiss really obvious queer relationships as close friendships and just being gal pals. Here's another example. So yeah, those are the things that fed into this design, and I hope that maybe it makes more sense now, or maybe I'm just mansplaining memes to really smart people. And but yeah, as well as internet references appearing in my work, the visual language that I use and like the layout of computers features really heavily. Not that I'm critiquing technology or internet as such, but more as just a vessel to express ideas or to communicate how flawed a character is, like with this one here. And I'm in this Facebook group called What If Phones But Too Much, where it's just reposts of boomer memes and boomer comics about how social media has ruined this generation. And you know what? I would just like to think that I'm the antithesis of those, because I really wish people would stop blaming the internet for holding up a mirror to us. It's quite easy to lay the blame there, because that's where everything is collected and exhibited. But I often feel like the internet just amplifies what was already wrong with us. And one of the things that feeds into that is people feel so like anonymous online, whereas it's actually probably where we're the least anonymous. Like, if Bill Gates wanted to know everything about you, mate, he already knows. He doesn't need to create a whole global pandemic and a vaccine just to know what you're up to, mate. He already knows. Do not get it twisted. In my opinion, all the internet does is organize and exchange information on a scale like we've never seen before. And the actual information is largely our responsibility, and it's a reflection of us and a reflection of the people who are online. It's just the biggest communal project and resource going, if that makes sense. I think if you're online, you're responsible for your digital backyard. And I also feel like that anonymity has people acting some kind of way. Like, take trolling, for example. It's as if every mean comment you've ever made, sitting on the couch with your mum, watching Gogglebox, like, oh, Gary Barlow looks the right state, pay your taxes. It's like all those comments, all those savage burns have been gathered up and exhibited in one place, and it's called Twitter. Right. I will very reluctantly admit that there are some things wrong with the internet that are completely out of our control, like the privacy issues, the censorship, Mark Zuckerberg, public enemy #1, making artists pander to the algorithm just to survive at this point. But that's because, you know, the internet, a fake world where anything is possible, power-hungry billionaires are still the problem. I said what I said. Right, but I'll ignore those points because they just don't fit into my main point, really. I'm still adamant that the internet is more a force for good than it is a force for evil. Like, look at the great strides it's made for social justice, for example. And in an art context, like, breaking down the barriers to getting your work seen is just so incredible. I mean, I would say that. But it's taken so much of the emphasis away from, like, daddy's checkbook and his friends in high places. And I am so thankful for that. Honestly, yeah. Growing up on the internet, though, I think, especially when the internet was just finding its feet, it's really fed into this obsession that I have. I'm so nostalgic for, like, Windows XP and Neopets and Microsoft Paint. And, like, this on screen right now is a project that I did with Tumblr, which was super fun. And I think this MSN Messenger kind of sparkly cursor aesthetic really appeals to, like, Gen Z and millennials who are also super nostalgic for this kind of thing. But I think, you know, that's the same with most of my work, that it really appeals to Gen Z and millennials. Definitely because of the internet language and humor that I use. Sometimes when family members read my work, I'll be worried that it won't translate that well across generations. Like, sometimes I'll show my mum my work and she'll be like, what's a Savage Flex wig? And who is Stan? We're working on it though. We're working on it. Like, now when I've been on a date, she asks me, hey, Clarice, what's the T? Love that. Love that for her. I swear I'm not a boomerphobe. This age appropriate thing goes both ways. So, like, I think my work obviously looks very appropriate for children. And sometimes it is. Sometimes it really is. Sometimes it's really not. Like, one time this kid came up to me at an art fair. She was like 6 years old. And she's like, Dad, can I have the cute dogs? And the dad was literally like, no. I cannot imagine why he said no, really. It's just a complete mystery to me. Honestly, yeah. I thought about keeping it professional in case I ever wanted to make a children's book. But, you know, what's important to me is wanting to put as few constraints on my self-expression as possible. Like, when I was in uni, I interviewed Ben Montero, who's like my favorite comic artist. And he said something that really resonated with me. He said, work as much as you can until the hand and the heart start to connect. Always keep that in mind when I'm making these comics. And he's the reason I started making comics in the first place. Like, yeah, I suppose my advice to people who ask me how I got here and how I create these comics is just say what you gotta say and hope to God someone gets you. And yeah, that just about concludes what I have to say here. So thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Thanks, Clarice. That was amazing. You can now stop sharing. But thank you so much for that. That was absolutely brilliant and great kind of more memes I think than we've ever seen in a Nice Tuesdays talk, and a lovely impression of your mum as well. Sounds great. A couple of questions for you. I guess off the back of that, I mean, you obviously have a very recognizable style, and I'm sure people who've seen your work before know unmistakably when they're seeing a piece of your work. Did that come, well, I mean, I guess, like, when did you develop that? When did that start clicking? Has it always been like that, or has it taken time to develop?
Yeah, it's taken ages to develop, I suppose. When I was at uni for the first 2 years of my degree, I was just making pure nonsense. In the third year, I started making comics, but they were like really sad, depressed comics with no words. And now I only make comics with words. Like, that's the starting point for all my work now. So I guess that's changed so much. Only within like the last year or two have I really started making these like colorful, funny, dog-related things. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. And I guess, I mean, one of the things that really interests me, just even seeing the work that you put up in that presentation, I guess, like, there's such an important part played by narrative within your humor. I guess, you know, sometimes it's a 4-panel comic, sometimes it's 3 panels. Does it like change, I guess, how you know, some of them are just the gag is in one image, but sometimes you're building up to something that then there's a kind of payoff in that 4th panel. Does it, I guess, when do those ideas come to you and how do you kind of get them down on paper? Is it like, do you sometimes think, okay, this needs to be just a 1-page, 1-image thing? Or I guess I'm curious about that.
Yeah, so essentially I have a list that is ridiculously long of just pure nonsense that I've thought of in the day or when I was daydreaming or when something stupid happens, and I write it down, and I would genuinely be so embarrassed if anyone ever saw it. They would think I've completely lost it. And that's really where I start with each thing. Like, I'll pick a little thing that I've written down in a daydream or whatever, and I'll take it and I'll kind of plot it in my mind. How many panels would this work best in? Like, what's the best for the kind of comedy timing? Like, where is the payoff? Where's the gag? What works best? Yeah, but sometimes I leave, like, I'll make like a really sad comic or a really sad few comics. I know there's going to be a payoff and a happy ending at some point, but people start getting so mad. They're like, I swear to God, if you hurt this dog one more time, it's like, it's not a real dog. It's not real. This isn't animal abuse.
Yeah, interesting. Very, very interesting. I guess finally, I mean, I've been asking everyone all year, you know, yeah, what are you how are you dealing with everything that's been going on this year? I guess, you know, now that we're kind of coming to the end of 2020, what are you looking forward to doing next year that you probably haven't been able to do as much of this year? Is there any one thing that you're like, okay, when the vaccine's out there, when we're kind of out of this is the one thing I want to be doing?
Yeah, definitely. So anyone who knows me will know this, that I have just been so sad that there's been no art fairs and art markets. I was supposed to be at like Thought Bubble Comic Con this year in November, but obviously it's all been cancelled. And I've just moved to a new city a couple months ago, and I literally have no friends, because the place I make friends is at art markets. Like, that is just the best place. That I cannot wait for like an art fair, print fair, anything. I'm so excited. Invite me to the mall, please.
I'm sure you'll be taken up on that. Listen, thanks so much, Clarice. We're going to have to leave it there, but thank you for your amazing talk, and yeah, hopefully see you soon.
Yeah, hopefully. Thanks so much.
Cheers.